Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of Epic Comicast. I'm Karina Michelle, and I'm here with your host,
TC.
And we are really excited to bring you episode 1 today, because it involves one of our favorite, and probably one of your favorite childhood cartoons. Our top 10 Batman the Animated Series episode list.
And just as a spoiler warning, we are going to be going in depth with each and every one of these episodes.
All right, you ready?
Yep, let's go.
The Underdwellers.
Okay, so I chose the Underdwellers for my number 10. Let me give you a quick short synopsis of the episode. Here it goes. Batman discovers a subterranean colony of children in the sewer system dominated by the insane Sewer King. And I'll just go ahead and say that I love this episode because you get to see a side of Batman that you don't normally see, and it's the children that trigger it, right? Karina, when you saw this episode too, what did you think about the episode in general?
You're right. I definitely think that you do see like a different side of him because he's always just so methodical. He's always just so stern. He's serious all the time, and not a lot of things really get to him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when he saw what was going on underneath the sewers, he kind of it just went from 6 to midnight. Instantly, he just became enraged. And it was nice to see him sort of like on the edge like that.
Yeah, I mean, he even got to the point where, I don't want to spoil anything any too soon, but he gets to the point where he doesn't want to let he doesn't want to let the villain in the hands of the court system. He wants to take care of it himself. Now,
the villain in this episode is actually pretty interesting himself because he's not really a supervillain. He doesn't, terrorize anybody himself. He's not causing problems on the streets. What he's doing is he's just enslaved child laborers.
Yeah, and
to do his bidding.
I'm glad you said that because he's not your stereotypical Batman villain. He's not like the Joker, Two-Face, Riddler, Penguin. He's just a normal guy who...
He's not even really like a crime lord either. But he's honestly just pure evil if you think about it.
And this is, that's another reason why I love this episode, because they make you want to hate this guy so much, like the things that he does, and we'll go into detail exactly.
Let's talk a little bit exactly what he does to sort of get that kind of reaction from Batman.
Okay, so let's go ahead and start out. In the beginning of the episode, there are a bunch of these kids going around stealing things, and I believe, are they called leprechauns or?
Yeah, the Sewer King makes them wear these hooded green cloaks, and they go around the streets and they steal things from the citizens of Gotham. And, people think that they're leprechauns because they're these little green men and they're running around all over the place. So they call them leprechauns.
Okay. And so you have these kids running around, and you later find out that they're stealing things for the Sewer King. Yeah,
everything that they steal, they take back down in the sewers and they give to him. But that first scene, I don't know if you remember, but that first scene when it pans down to beneath the streets and you see children like almost in like a child factory.
Yeah, exactly.
Sewing and like mining. And
it's straight out of like a sweatshop. You got kids, yeah, they're shoveling. I think a kid actually hits himself in the ankle with a shovel. And you hear him yelp for a second because he hurts himself. And this actually triggers...
Yeah, and the child next to him sort of like tries to muffle the scream.
Yeah, he's like, oh, better be quiet.
Yeah, and that's the Sewer King's like entire shtick.
He rules out of fear, and he rules... this is... I like it. I've told Karina this earlier, that it's straight up mental abuse. The way he's manipulating all these kids to do what he wants. And we'll go into it later, but he goes into... we'll just talk about it later.
Physical and mental abuse. Not only is he torturing these children, but he's also constantly reminding them that nobody else in this world loves them.
Exactly.
He's providing food, he's providing shelter, so they owe him everything, basically. And they're convinced. That's why he allows them to go to the surface, but you realize they don't run away from him, like, because that's the first thing I would do. You have to be really, under some sort of spell to do somebody like that's bidding.
Yeah, so when I don't think it was one of the main characters who let out the scream, but when the kid hurts himself with the shovel, you see Sewer King ring the bell, which signifies, or it tells all the kids, come to the front, huddle up over here. And then Sewer King confronts the kids. He goes, who made noise, or what does he say? Something like that?
Yeah, apparently in his kingdom, the children aren't supposed to make any noise. They're supposed to be kept quiet. Actually, his motto is actually children are to be seen and not heard, or children are not to be seen or heard, which I thought was really funny. I don't know if you guys are Arrested Development fans, but that's actually the motto of the school that Buster attends, the Milford Academy for Boys. And in one episode, he's just trying. It's just really funny. You guys should watch it.
Okay, so yeah, he does say that lesson number 1 is no talking, and then quote, children are to be seen and not heard, like Karina just said. So
and then
go ahead.
He actually one of the boys who was talking, he actually tries to make an example out of him. I think one of the boys is thrown into this dungeon room where he has really harsh fluorescent lights. It's like the ceiling is just lights.
And this is straight up torture to the kids.
Yeah, and he just throws them in that room, and they
basically live underground.
Yeah, he throws them in the room, and he says, I forget what he says, but he said a couple of hours in there should, straighten you out or something like that. And that kid's going to be in there for hours. That is crazy.
And also a note, the Sewer King uses alligators to scare the children as well. And the way some of these children wince when he grabbed the kid to throw him into the, I don't know if it was a closet, but it was like an underground.
Just tortured light dungeon.
Yeah. You see the kids wince like he's, laid a hand on them before, or
that maybe he's even fed some to his alligators.
Exactly.
I wouldn't put it past him. This guy is freaking crazy. But let's talk about Frog. There's actually a little boy who does escape, who's on the streets, and his name is Frog. Batman finds him, and he ends up bringing him back to his home where he's looked after by Alfred.
Yeah, the Sewer King tells all the kids, go upstairs or go up above and bring me back more pretties, he calls them. So they all go up, and Batman, is he tailing Frog? Is he following him?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. So he follows him, and then like my sister said, Batman captures Frog, or doesn't capture him, but how does he get a hold of Frog?
Frog falls into on the tracks of the subway station, and Batman saves him, and he takes him with him. He puts him in his car. Remember, his car turns into was like a dumpster.
Oh yeah,
it was cloaked, and it looked like a dumpster.
That's another thing, by the way. When he's got a Frog in his arms, or Frog's running with him, and he's running to this dumpster, all he says is "open."
And it transforms into the Batmobile.
The dumpster transform into a Batmobile, which I didn't know was a capability of the Batmobile, but it was pretty, I don't know. Had a Transformer
it was pretty cool.
Hint to it.
But yeah, so Frog is taken to his home, and he's looked after by Alfred. And Frog's the little boy, or the quote-unquote leprechaun. He's sort of acting like a savage. Everything that Alfred provides for him, he tries to steal. He doesn't speak at all either, which is kind of creepy. He doesn't say a word.
Yeah, and the kid's been trained to steal his whole life, so you would imagine.
He tries to steal the silverware.
Yep.
And then all that's fine. Batman sort of sees Alfred interacting with his child, and it almost makes him smile.
It does make him smile. It actually makes him laugh. And he even has a quote that he says. He goes, "Haha, I wonder if I was that much trouble," because Alfred had to deal with Bruce growing up, and I just thought it was pretty cool to see Batman actually give a chuckle, because Batman rarely gives us those moments where he's laughing or he's happy. He's always brooding. He's always got that serious.
Batman just has a soft spot in his heart for children.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of everything that he's gone through.
Exactly.
And it's just nice to see sometimes to remind him that to remind us that he's a human being.
So it's all fun and games until Frog decides to pick up one of Bruce's shotguns, and he picks up the shotgun. He even points it at Alfred, and Batman he quickly runs there and he says very emphatically, I might add, he says, "Children and guns do not mix," and then he goes, "Ever." So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was the last straw.
And he even mentions that the gun wasn't loaded, but, that's not the point. I guess that was a message to any kid that was watching, stay away from guns. And I thought that was pretty cool. So we cut to a scene where the Sewer King is down below and he's eating his dinner. And I mentioned this to Karina. I mentioned that he's eating his dinner really disgusting. Like one of those... He reminded me of like an old pirate and the way they used to eat their dinner, just... grabbing the chicken bones and just being disgusting while eating it.
No, what's a good example is, I don't know if you guys have probably seen it, but Denethor from Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King, the steward of the king. That scene where he is eating his meal and he's just like sticking his fingers in like the pig and he's just like stiff. I don't know. That's exactly what he reminded me of.
He's making the viewers want to hate him more just by the way he's eating. Let me just say that, because he's just eating like a slob.
Yeah, he's just a horrible person, and he eats like a horrible person too.
So I believe he asked for the rolls or something. I don't know. He asked for something.
Yeah, he asked for Frog to bring him his dinner rolls, and when the another kid brings him the rolls instead, he like automatically notices that it's not Frog, which is kind of weird if you think about it, because he literally has thousands of kids down there, and one kid who's not in the right place. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of makes you think, like, what kind of relationship is he having with some of these boys?
Yeah, I mean, you never know.
That's really creepy, I think.
And so, when he notices Frog isn't there, he grabs one of the kids and he puts him in a headlock. And, he's like, "Where's Frog?" And then he goes about brainwashing the kids again. He's mind-fucking, and that's exactly what he's doing. And he's telling them, he's the one who provides for them. He's the one who took you in when no one else would have you. He cares for you, and he knows what's best for them. That's what he's telling them. And then he also tells the kids that, there'll be nothing, you guys won't be able to eat anything until you find Frog. So he's starving the kids as well. Why don't you add that to the list?
Yeah. So then the next scene, after the Sewer King's tirade and after Frog takes the gun off the wall, Batman finally asks Frog to take him to the secret passageway to get into the sewers. So Frog takes him down into the sewers, and this is the first time Batman kind of realizes like the gravity of the situation down here.
Yeah, and I love this scene because as soon as Batman gets there and he sees all these kids, his reaction is probably worth watching the episode alone, because he automatically says evidence when he sees these kids, and he takes out his camera, starts snapping pictures, because he knows that this dude is just a piece of shit, basically. So the next scene, Batman runs to that bell that the Sewer King ran in the beginning to huddle all the children up, and it's hilarious. He goes to the bell and he's ringing the shit out of the bell. He's like pulling it back and forth full force, that it actually crashes down, which I love that scene because, again, it shows, Batman's just pissed off and he wants the one-on-one with this guy.
Do you think so? He's ringing the bell to sort of like get the Sewer King's attention, or is he ringing the bell for the kids to get summoned, or what do you think he's doing?
No, he's ringing the bell to get the attention of the Sewer King. Like he wants to see the man that is able to do these type of things to these type of kids.
Yeah.
So, like I said, he rings the bell and crashes it down. And then we see the Sewer King show up, and he's got his alligators with him. And what did you think about the alligators in terms of... I
mean, they were cool.
They're just sort of playing like on the whole alligators in the sewers.
Alligators in the sewers, yeah, that's cute. I really I don't know, like the whole like Sewer King alligators in the sewers. It's very like, urban legend sort of. Like there's a lot of different Sewer Kings. Like, do you remember our other favorite sewer king.
From Hey Arnold?
From Hey Arnold. I don't know if you guys watched Hey Arnold, but it was the bomb back then. And there, Arnold loses his pocket watch in the sewers, and then the sewer king holds on to it. I don't know. I just really like the sewer king.
Okay, so let's not go off too far on a tangent. That's okay. So Batman takes on the alligators. So
easily.
He ropes up one of them, ties it like a steer. And the other one, he actually hyperextends the jaw of it, which is pretty gruesome, I thought. Especially
that's pretty cool.
So what goes next? I think the sewer king's hanging from a ledge, and Batman's extending his arm, to help him up.
Of course.
Of course, Batman's not going to let this guy die. And so, even though he probably should. Anyway, so the sewer king ends up falling down into the water, and we're like, as viewers, we're like, okay, he's alligator meat. He's done. The alligator's just going to chew him up, and that takes care of that. But nope. Once he lands in the water, we hear him laughing from down below, and
it just kind of pisses you off.
It does, because, once again, the sewer king gets the one up on Batman, like, ha ha ha, you thought I was dead, but these are my pretties, or these are my babies, or whatever he says, and they're not going to hurt me. So he gets away momentarily.
And then Batman ends up catching up with him. And they go at it again. And it's a really interesting dynamic this time because you actually sort of think that Batman could kill this man.
Exactly. And let me just go back to a scene that we forgot before that. It's where the sewer king actually grabs one of the kids and Batman emphatically says, he goes, "Put him down now." Like he says it with some... the way he says
you don't mess with children.
Exactly.
Not around Batman.
And then the sewer king goes, "It's feeding time for my kitties." Like he was going to actually feed the kids to the alligator.
To the alligators, which makes you think like this has got to have happened before.
Exactly. Why?
Why else would the children be so afraid of him?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a very scary thought.
Yeah, like put yourself in the kid situations. You don't want to be eaten by an alligator.
Tony.
Yeah, it's. That Mr. Obvious?
Captain Obvious over here. No,
anyway, Batman does say a short little joke when he's saying goodbye to the alligators. And my sister did not want me to bring this up on the podcast, but Batman says later to the gators, which, see you later, alligator.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to throw that in that I was...
Captain Obvious strikes again.
That. I'm sure a lot of other people have caught that too, so...
Anyways, let's get back to the final confrontation between these two.
Okay, so... Go ahead. Continue.
I had already continued and then you stopped me and went back. They're about... Basically, like, Batman has the sewer king, like, by his neck. And then he says something along the lines of he wished for that moment that he could take care of business himself, meaning kill you, right? Yeah,
and I have the exact quote here. I think Batman goes, "I don't pass sentence. That's for the courts. But this time, ... This time, I'm sorely tempted to do the job myself," which is awesome.
So after that, and their big finale, Batman does ultimately let the police handle it. You see, like, Commissioner Gordon come in, and the sewer king gets taken away. And then afterwards, all the children are removed from the sewers. Very Temple of Doom-like, in that how all the children sort of just, like, spring up. And then Frog actually says his first line of the whole episode, which is, "The light, the light." He's just so happy to see the sunlight. Yeah. Which is kind of weird, though, because he was roaming the streets. You think you probably think that they only let them out at night?
I don't know. That could be it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
9.
The Man Who Killed Batman. So I put this as number 9 on my countdown because I love this episode. Let me give you a quick synopsis of the entire episode. A small-time crook tells his story of how he accidentally seemed to kill Batman, and now everyone wants to kill him next. So, Karina, what did you think about the episode in general?
I actually really liked this episode. But for the reasons, I'm pretty sure everybody's reasons, it was not really about Batman actually, being taken out by somebody, but it was more about the people around him reacting to the news
Exactly.
that Batman, might be gone forever.
And we get to see more layers of the Joker character here, and the way the Joker reacts to Batman being quote unquote dead. And that's, one of the main reasons why I love this episode. But let's go ahead and start at the beginning, where there's a quick shot to a newspaper on the ground, and the headline reads, "Batman slain," with the question mark. And we see Sid visiting Rupert Thorne, who's one of the crime bosses, and he's telling him the story of how he killed Batman. So the mob brings Sid along as bait for Batman, and they even say, Batman's going to be too busy beating up Sid to stop them. Sid, he's up there battling with Batman on top of the building, and the rest of the mob are down below. And so all they see is like the silhouette of Sid, like tripping and kicking Batman, or accidentally tackling him because he tripped. So
yeah, but to them it looks like that he's actually like winning.
To them it looks like he's just kicking Batman's ass. But and so Sid ends up falling off of the cliff or hanging on the ledge, and then Batman's extending his hand, and then Sid is like he's struggling or he's squirming, and Batman, you remember what Batman says there?
Doesn't he say like
he says,
calm down or something?
Yeah, he tells him like stop squirming or stop moving.
Yeah.
And then so Batman ends up going over the ledge, and there's this huge explosion. So the mobsters down below naturally think no one could have survived that,
because they still see Sid on top, right? They still see Sid.
Yeah, they
roof.
see Sid, and Sid's holding Batman's cape and cowl.
Yeah.
So they infer that Sid is the guy who bested the Bat. He is the guy who killed Batman, and so that's kind of where the story starts. So we cut to a scene where everybody's in a bar, and Sid's staying there, and everyone's praising Sid. They're chanting Sid
the Squid, Sid the Squid.
Exactly, Sid the Squid. And so two of the bigger guys are in the back arm wrestling each other, and they're two big guys, like bear type guys.
Like rhino size.
Yeah. And so they overhear all the praise for this guy named Sid. And so one of them gets up, and he takes a look at Sid, and he goes, if you're the toughest guy in Gotham, and I beat your ass, what does he say to him?
Huh? He doesn't say that. Basically, he says something along the lines of like, if you defeated like the toughest man in Gotham, which is like Batman, that means if he defeats Squid, then he'll be essentially beating the man who killed Batman.
The toughest guy in Gotham.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so, a fight breaks out, and Squid whimpers over. He's crawling on the ground trying to find a nice place to hide.
Yeah.
Like the coward he really is. And so the
police come.
The police come, and then Sid delivers a funny line. He's actually relieved when the cops showed up, which I thought was pretty funny anyway.
Yeah.
And so Sid's in jail. He's being held there, and guess who shows up for his release?
Harleen Quinzel. I don't like that name. I'm sorry.
Well, that's just
I know that's her name.
She started out as a doctor, a therapist, or psychologist.
I know. I'm just not really a fan of Harleen Quinzel.
What I don't get is that she's already been established in Batman TAS before this episode, so the character of Harley Quinn is already
known.
So
you would think that she would come in and it wouldn't be okay for her to enter.
Exactly. And when she's talking to Bullock is all, he even says, like, do I know you from somewhere? Or,
and she's like, I'm pretty sure I've served you a subpoena once.
Yeah, and then Bullock kind of gives that look like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And so Harley ends up taking Sid out of jail, and they get into a car, and she starts applying all her Harley makeup. Mm-hmm. And then Sid realizes,
which is terrifying if you think about it. If you're Sid, because he didn't recognize who Harleen was. So as soon as he got into the limo and she started putting on clown makeup, like that, I'm terrified of clowns. Absolutely terrified of clowns. Yeah. So that would scare me shitless. And then he starts to realize like the gravity of who exactly he's being taken to, which is terrifying.
Yeah, and So they're both in the car, and Sid realizes, oh, you work for the Joker, he says, and he's all scared. And then we meet the Joker, and the Joker's all pissed off because, well, why would the Joker be pissed off? Because a two-time, fumbling idiot got the best of Batman, or supposedly.
But at first he's not pissed off. At first he still thinks that it's kind of like a joke.
At first he's not convinced that Batman is dead.
Yeah, at first he's like, I'm going to put Sid in danger, and sooner or later Batman's going to be crashing through that window.
Exactly. And he actually asked for a body, too. He's like, was there a body found? And they didn't find a body, so Joker knows this. It shows how smart Joker really is, too.
Yeah, because that's also the first thing that you gotta have in order to prove that you've bested somebody in this type
Especially somebody like Batman, who you want to make sure he's dead if he's really dead.
Yeah, like Joker's been there, done that.
So what Joker ends up doing is staging a coup, hoping that Batman shows up to play his little game like always. And the next scene, or the next couple scenes, are just gold. And
they're fucking awesome.
Yeah, they are. Joker at one point says, where is he? He's never been this late before. And,
almost as if he's being stood up.
Exactly. Like, it's like they have a date each and every time that Joker decides he wants to play.
Yeah.
And it's funny that, he views this as being stood up by Batman, his sparring partner or his dancing partner, something along those lines. But
and then you kind of see in his face the moment he realizes that he's not coming.
Mm-hmm. And then when he realizes he's not coming, Harley has all these jewels on her, and she calls him. She has all these pretties. She goes, Joker, I have all these pretties, and Joker shoves her like spousal abuse, but he shoves
pissed.
her down,
yeah.
And he tells her to put them back, and she's like, ha ha ha, you're joking, right? And then we realize he's not joking, and then he gives the line, which I love. It's, quote, without Batman, crime has no punchline, which is awesome. I love that line.
Yeah, it also shows exactly how sort of yin and yang they are,
Yeah. And I feel it's like kind of like a marriage. Like,
is it yin and yang or yin and yang?
It's yin and yang.
No, I think it's yin and yang.
No, it's
yin yang.
Y-I-N. That's it.
I
There's
don't
no
think so.
G at the end of
I'm
yin.
gonna have to disagree. I don't remember.
Anyway, so I think my sister posed this question before we actually started the podcast. It was, so what does Joker do after, if Batman really dies? Like, is he going to continue, having a life of crime, even though he doesn't have Batman there? Like, what happens next for Joker? Like, he says, he tells everybody that crime has no punchline without Batman. Right? Didn't you ask me this?
I did. Calm down.
What?
I did. It's a very good point, too, because if Batman no longer exists and, Joker's all about the joke, Joker's all about the punchline, like he says. Like, so if Batman doesn't exist, does Joker, cease to exist as well? I mean, maybe he just fucking drops the act,
Yeah, does he hang it up? Does he retire?
I don't know.
And then,
that's the cool thing with Joker, because he very well could. Or he might find somebody else to sort of cling to like that.
Exactly.
You just really don't know. And his unpredictability is just really...
He finds, maybe a new sparring partner. And I compare it to, a marriage. Like, say you're in a marriage for, 10 to 12 years. And either a divorce happens or, you're no longer in that marriage. Like, do you get remarried immediately? Or do you... Yeah, it's kind of similar. Or do you get back on the market and find a new, a new girlfriend /
Oh, it actually
spouse?
is yin and yang. Very good.
I know. So, anyway.
I don't even know what that means, though.
So then we have the scene where Batman has his funeral thrown by Joker and Harley Quinn.
And I think it's really interesting that Joker tries to give him, a proper funeral. I think that's really cool.
Joker
he's
respects Batman
yeah.
on a different level. So Harley Quinn's doing her usual Harley Quinn thing, and she's playing the kazoo. I forget what song she plays, but it's a pretty funny scene. And so they're going to throw Sid into a coffin, and they're going to throw the coffin into a vat of chemicals.
Or acid, really.
And this is actually the same warehouse or chemical plant that Joker, fell into the vat of chemicals. And I know that's true because I actually read on Wikipedia that was something that they had revisited, which was pretty cool. And so, watching this scene, Sid gets lowered into the poison or whatever, and his coffin is actually underneath the acid, which looks like he's
a goner.
He looks like a goner. Yeah, it looks like he's dead.
But by some miraculous, I don't know, he just doesn't end up dying, and his coffin ends up being like thrown into the sewers or something. And
then Joker has a funny line after he's done killing Sid, what he thinks is killing Sid. He goes, "Well, that was fun. Who's for Chinese?" So classic Joker fashion. He just on to the next thing. So yes, Sid just miraculously ends up on the outskirts of like
the town,
a moat or a river. There you go.
The sewer.
And
I still don't know how that happens.
Well, Batman.
No,
it's revealed later that Batman saves him.
Oh wait, how? From the acid?
Yeah, from the acid.
Oh, okay.
And then so after Sid gets out, he goes to Rupert Thorne, and this is where the flashback comes back to the beginning of the story, where Sid's actually telling the story to Rupert Thorne. And then so Rupert's getting all paranoid. He thinks Sid's playing around with them.
And that he actually really is a criminal mastermind.
Yeah, Rupert even says like you can't fool me. I've heard the stories of a bumbling idiot, besting the Batman. And so Rupert's genuinely scared of Sid. And then Batman shows up out of nowhere. He busts through the door.
Yeah.
And Rupert points one of his guns. He points a gun at him. And Batman, chucks a batarang and lands it directly in the middle of the gun, which was pretty cool. It shows Batman's badass accuracy.
He does that in every episode.
Not every episode.
Okay, 95%.
Anyway, so I don't know I forgot if the gun explodes in his hand or if he tries to shoot it, or you remember?
I don't remember. So the final scene of the episode is you have two security guards escorting Sid the Squid to his jail cell, and his final line is like, "Oh, finally a big shot," or "Finally what? Finally something." Yeah, he finally thinks that
he goes,
he's made it.
A big shot at last.
A big shot at last. There you go. So if you're a fan of the show or you like what you heard today, we'd really appreciate it if you would give us a good review on iTunes, please. That would be awesome. Also, you can send us questions by writing us on Twitter. And we are at Epic Comicast, and also liking us on Facebook. So that wraps up our first episode of the Epic Comicast. Stay tuned next week for a continuation of our countdown. I'm Karina Michelle.
And I'm TC. And we'll see you guys next week.
But stay classy, San Diego.